I know I said that yesterday was one of my favorite parables in the canonical tradition, but I also love this parable from today. The parable of the prodigal son, of course, from the Gospel of Luke, chapter 15. And the thing I want to focus on is the particular reason why the prodigal son comes back. And so, obviously, as a quick recap, there's this father who has two sons, one's younger and one's older, and the younger one kind of leaves with his share of the property owed unto him and squanders it on loose living. But to, again, focus on why the younger son comes back to the father, right? So when you look at the reason why he comes back to the father, it's not because he feels sorry. It's not because he basically told his father to drop dead in a sense of valuing his property more than his very person. The reason why the younger son comes back is because he's hungry. So you think about how earlier in the story, what he says is, my father's hired hands, my father's slaves, his servants, they have more than enough food to spare. And yet here I am dying of hunger. Oh, I know what I'll do. I'll go to my father and I'll say something to appease his anger and kind of earn back his respect and love. So I'll say, well, Father, I've sinned before heaven and against you. I'm no longer worthy to be called your son. Treat me like a hired hand, right? So again, the reason why he comes back is not because he's truly repented of his sins, but rather because he wants something to eat. And he thinks that, look, if I humiliate myself before my Father in heaven, at least I'll get like a sandwich or something. But what's interesting is that obviously the father receives him with great love. So think about, the ring, the robe, the sandals on his feet, the fatted calf, the whole shebang, right? But the whole idea is that the reason why the father does this is not because he's a dummy, right? Like he knows his two sons. He knows them better than they know themselves. And so obviously he knows that the younger son is sort of playing a game here. He knows that the younger son has less than perfect contrition. But you see, here's the point. It doesn't matter. The father still celebrates. The father still gives him the robe, the ring, the sandals for his feet. He still kills the fatted calf. He still invites everyone to celebrate because the father's joy is authentic. All I care about is that my son has come home. Now my son is with me, living in the same roof as me. And for that, I rejoice. And obviously, that should be a great source of consolation for each one of us, because clearly one of the things we should actually do once, if not multiple times over the course of the season of Lent, is go to confession. And a lot of times we're apprehensive. What will the priest say? Well, how will the Lord receive me in a certain sense through the context of the sacraments? But if you go back to this particular gospel, again, the parable of the prodigal son, focus on the father's joy. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have perfect contrition. If you do, that's great, right? But the purpose of the sacrament is to receive people who are imperfect, people who are sinners, people in need of redemption, otherwise known as people like you and me.